Hi, I'm Roger Magoulas, Research Director at O'Reilly. I'm here with Doug Cutting. Doug, many of you probably know as the founder of Apache Hadoop, which he will pronounce more correctly than I am. And he's also the chief architect at Cloudera. And we're here at the Strata conference, and we're going to talk a little about what's going on at the conference and actually what Doug is finding interesting in the data space. So welcome, Doug.
Thanks, Roger. It's great to be with you.
Good. So you've been at the conference. Any impressions from what you've seen so far?
It's the fundamental thing that impresses me is just that this is still growing, that it's still young, that we're still seeing lots of newcomers, new applications. Again, I think we're twice the size we were last time, so we're seeing this annual doubling, which is it's kind of this crazy acceleration, like a roller coaster that keeps going faster, so that's neat. It's at some point the adoption of this stuff will slow down, but it seems like we're a long way from that at this point.
Yeah, I would agree, and I get to use a word like we have monotonic growth, which we're of course very happy about, and a certain sense of like enthusiasm, kind of like a lot of energy around here. So, you're working at Cloudera and you're in the data space. Are there any things in particular like you're noticing, like you're paying attention to, or are just interesting to you?
I'm very pleased that we're seeing this the whole ecosystem evolve. It's sort of to me one of the advantages of the way this ecosystem is built is that it's not centrally controlled by any one standard bearer. It's a bunch of different projects that are sort of loosely aggregated. And we're really now seeing some of what we thought were the core components becoming more peripheral and new things becoming more central. Spark is a great example of that, where only a year ago it was a newcomer. Now it seems to be verging on becoming the new primary API for the ecosystem. And to me that just shows this great promise that it can adapt and respond to what people want. And so it makes me again very optimistic.
Right. One of the things about that, I wonder if you agree with this, I think part of it is that it's customer-driven and practitioner-driven and not vendor-driven.
Very much so.
Right. So you as vendors have to react.
I mean, a traditional platform was controlled by a vendor. The vendor had the platform, and the platform would never drift to a place that wasn't in the vendor's sphere of control and interest and what they wanted it to. And where this is a very different thing, where the vendors are along for the ride. And trying to make it work well for the users.
Well, I imagine that might be frustrating in some ways. I'll bet it's a lot more exciting.
Definitely exciting.
In others, and plus you get to see things being used and have some fun. Now I know in other discussions, since we're on the program committee, one of the things we've been talking about in the data space is ethics, and how, with the explosion of use of data, how do we make sure we're doing the right things?
I think we're at a really early stage there too. I think there's a lot of folks who are collecting data and doing neat things with it, but a lot of it's personal data, and they're not necessarily always telling users what they're doing with their data, and they're sometimes sort of thinking, oh well, nobody's ever going to find out, they won't know, and I think that's a really dangerous attitude. I think you need to think that everything you're doing can be defended in public. And we need to really work on developing best practices as an industry, or else there's going to be a lot of backlash against. And we'll see a lot of policies coming that are really restricting what can be done if we don't constrain ourselves and adopt good policies.
Yeah, it almost seems like the golden rule might be appropriate.
Right.
Would you want someone to do this to your data, and maybe that should help?
Yeah, but I think different people also have different limits that they want to draw, and some people seem comfortable, at least in principle, with certain things being done, and other people don't. And finding the thing that we can all accept is going to be tricky. It's a journey, but I also feel like we don't have that much time here. I think in the next few years we're really going to set our policies. And hopefully we'll set ones that work well for us long term and don't hamstring us.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I think that because I've done some stuff with health data, HIPAA has probably done exactly the opposite of what you really want it to do. It gives marketing information to pharma, but doesn't let researchers get at the data to find things out, is that by working on it, maybe we can all coalesce to something that helps the space move forward, yet provides some.
And I think there's a lot of fear out there. People are afraid of that it could be abused. There's a lot of, you see this a lot in fiction, in science fiction, and these sort of worst case scenarios painted out. And I don't think we're actually that close to most of those scenarios. But we still need to convince people. We need to convince the general public that we're not. I think we're doing a terrible job at that. The fact that a lot of people think we're already there, we're already in a surveillance state, and I don't necessarily agree with that, but I think we need to do the right thing to convince people that we're not.
Yeah, no, I actually completely agree with you. I think the analysts I know, no one has that kind of complete knowledge. We're a long way from that kind of stuff. So anything like from your perspective on the future that you'd like to discuss, things you're working on, or that Cloudera's perspective?
You know, it's another exciting stage that we're at is we're starting to really see patterns of use. It used to feel like every person who was using these technologies was kind of a one-off, and there were a few patterns. Maybe in the web area, there were people analyzing logs. It was sort of, you see that one again and again. But in most businesses, it would be all new. But now we've been around long enough. We're starting to see real patterns. We see in finance, we see a lot of fraud and risk analytics, and we see this customer 360 kind of applications, real repeatable, which makes me think that the next stage is we're going to actually see sort of packaged applications coming out soon, built on top of this, which I think is going to really help to spread the style of technology a lot further, where people don't have to build it themselves.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. One of the things being in Silicon Valley as we are is that there's a lot of great engineers there.
Right.
And that doesn't necessarily translate everywhere. I think these prepackagings are going to make it just more widely available.
Right. The web companies are accustomed to building everything from scratch,
yeah.
which is great because it's in the way we get a lot of these open source projects. But it's not what everybody wants to do.
That's right. Thanks again, Doug, for participating in Strata plus Hadoop World, and thanks for sharing your thoughts on what's going on.
You're very welcome. It's great to be here.